What's going on, everyone? Steven here. And this game right here has a super annoying bug. Alright? So, when you hack games, it's very common that you hit escape because you want to go to a menu or, Alt-Tab out to get into Cheat Engine or whatever tool. So, inevitably, you're going to hit the escape key. Well, this game, when you hit the escape key, it just hard closes the game. And I cannot tell you how many times I have hit escape in this frickin' game while trying to hack it. So, let's take care of that. And in the process, I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff based on what I have just learned over the past, 3 hours trying to do this simple thing. Alright, so we're going to be using Cheat Engine, dnSpy, and I'm going to use this game Itazura VR. So it's got a free demo on Steam that you can download. It's a very incestuous VR game. So yeah, this is pretty much an adult type game. But if you wanted to follow along, make sure you're over 18. You can download the demo on the page. So yeah, you can experience all this for yourself. Alright, so let's say you go get the demo and you fire up the game. Alright. And you hit escape and it just exits out. So how do we take care of that? Well, first of all, because this game uses mono, we can use dnSpy, which makes things pretty easy for us, relatively speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and open up dnSpy here. Alright, and now what I want to do is open up the assemblies related to the game. So you can bring up Steam, you can right click on the game and go to Properties, click Local Files, Browse Local Files. Alright, and so here are the local files for the game. I'm going to double click here on this data folder and then on Managed. And here, this is what I'm going to drag in to dnSpy. So right here, boom, bring that in. It's going to load other things as necessary. Alright, so there's a number of ways to approach this. One way might be we want to search this for certain keywords like exit. So what if we try to do exit? What happens if we type in exit? Okay, acknowledge quit exiting. Alright, so this is something that it recognizes a name in this particular location. Alright, so if we were to drill down from here into this assembly C#, we should see valve VR. See valve.vr. And then if we drill down into that, we would see CVR system, this here, okay, and we could go into there and just double click on whatever reference we see, and then we can see what the code is. All right, so this effing table, probably function table, acknowledge quit exiting. Anyway, so there is a huge list of stuff here related to exit. We don't know if that's related to what's going on with the game. There's something like quit, acknowledge quit exiting, application quit, stuff related to quit, all this. So as you can see, it's not as simple as just, okay, let's get in and see what the deal is. Alright, so now what we could do is let's consider the key that we're pressing. We're pressing the escape key. Alright, so maybe we type in the word escape and see what we see. Alright, we can drill down our options here and say match whole word. Alright, so this looks pretty cool. We have escape here as the Unity Engine key code. We could double click that and see what its key code is for escape. Alright, and I've brought up some stuff here that we're going to be going over, but virtual key codes are basically the way that a KeyPress is handled from Windows. that's what this has to do with. Okay, so if we search for escape, okay, we can see that vk_escape is one mnemonic for, or that's the virtual key code for escape, the escape key. But, you know, if you dig down underneath the hood, this actual value is being passed. All right, 1B, 0x1B is being passed. And, you know, the Win32 API that handles this stuff understands this value to mean the escape key. All right, so not to get too into that at the moment, but so what we could do is look around and see if any of these things make sense to us in terms of an escape key. So this system.console key, here again, we see something like that, but these weren't it. Okay, so what if we tried to type in vk_escape? Let's uncheck this. Okay, we're not seeing that anywhere. All right, well, there's something else we can try here. Even though it says all of the above here in dnSpy, if you click the drop-down box, at the very bottom you'll see number/string. That'll be beneath all of the above. And you can try looking for numbers and strings, which the other search does not find. This is a more intensive process. But unfortunately, this is also not going to find what we're interested in terms of looking for the escape key. All right. And so after some digging around, I found this issue. It's closed, but from last year with dnSpy's on their GitHub, right? So basically, there's certain things it won't find. So searching the decompiled text isn't possible at the moment, written, you know, by the guy developing dnSpy. You can, however, search for constants, which are numbers or strings in method bodies, and I'll show you what that means. The second thing he says is workaround. Decompile the whole thing, open the project in VS, search the code. All right, so VS is Visual Studio. You won't have to do all this, but we're going to do something like that. You don't need to, but I just want to show it to you as an option until he programs in whatever he needs to so that you can search everything. All right, so looking at this, searching the decompiled text isn't possible at the moment. You can, however, search for constants, numbers, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's probably functions like getKey or getKeyCode or something like that. So if we can't find the reference like this VK escape or, you know, escape or ESC, you know, we can look for all these things, which I've already done, and this is what I spent a ton of time on. I'm not going to put you through all that. The escape key, like this is the actual number. This is the constant that is used to represent the escape key. All right. So what if we search for that? So if we were to have all of the above selected and I pasted it in here and hit enter, I wouldn't get any results. But that number/string, let's do that, and let's do match whole words. Okay, and there's a bunch of stuff here, but if we go all the way to the bottom, we'll see these three updates here. Now, as you hack games more, especially with Unity, you'll see more and more that like update or late update, these are method names that are very common for like watching the state of the game for something to happen. So it'll keep running through this update loop. Okay. So anyway, we have these three updates here, and one of them is in this manager.vr input. Now this is technically a VR game, but it happens to work without a VR device as well. Here we have this root motion.demos.application quit. That sounds interesting, right? The last one here, Steam VR menu. So now what we can do is double click wherever we want to go. All right, so look at this. If input dot get key down, and then it passes keycode.escape. That's the escape key, right? So if this condition is satisfied, all right, then it goes into a nested if, show menu or hide menu. That doesn't sound like what we want. So let's go back to that. And what you're probably wondering is how on earth, like, we searched for 1B, but I don't see it here, all right? So there's something called the Common Intermediate Language, or IL, and this is .NET's assembly language, essentially. So .NET, I don't want to get too far into it, but long story short, what you see here gets compiled into this sort of assembly language, and then that runs across your CPU and is ultimately converted to assembly that most of us know and love. So what we can do to actually see that is, now that we're in this location, we can right click and go edit IL instructions. All right. And so here we can start reading through the IL and then make modifications here. But what we're interested in finding is 1B. Okay, I can't do a search in here, but somewhere in here is 1B. Oh, it's at the very top. Duh. Here we go. 1B. All right, so it saw it here and it related it to here in the code. All right. So after a lot of trial and error, I figured out that this is the one. Okay. So this particular one, we have if input.keyDown, or get key down, keycode.escape. Once again, we can right click here, edit IL instructions. All right. But before we do that, I'm going to show you something else. That's where we'll see the 1B again. But game data.endApplication OK equals true, application.quit, and then a bunch of other stuff. Application.quit sounded very interesting. Now, that happened to be in this location too, and I thought, well, this application.quit looks pretty interesting, right? So we could hover over it and we see the class. It's in Unity Engine .application, and then .quit is a method for that. And there's a lot of things that use this application.quit, all right? So we don't just want to go to this application.quit and get rid of that, because then the game won't quit out properly the way that we want it to. All we want to do is get rid of this one pesky, when you press the escape key, it actually closes the game out, right? So that's a bug. All right, so we've identified, I haven't done it through here. Again, I already went through all that. I've identified this is the spot. This is where I want to edit the escape key and get rid of the reference so that none of this happens, okay? So what you might normally do is right click on this and say edit method C#, and that's where it'll decompile it, and you could actually try to edit the code here. Right? You could get rid of this entire if statement if you wanted to, or change this key code to something else, which is ultimately what we're going to end up doing, and then have that satisfy our condition. Problem is, let me go ahead and change it to something and go compile. All right, this should compile it, and then we would save the module. But we get all these errors, and we see all this stuff here. You can double click on any of these and it'll take you to the line that it sees the error. And here there's private implementation and all this other stuff. So there's some obfuscation going on in this game in the assemblies in certain locations. And so that seems to really futz with dnSpy whenever it actually decompiled this, and now we want to recompile it. So since you can't do it that way, you can right click and go edit IL instructions, okay? Or over here in the tree, we could drill down to update is what this is. So manager.vr input, which we're in manager VR input, and now we want to go to update. See all these obfuscated names here? For whatever reason, they're not all obfuscated, so it's weird. Anyway, here we go, update. So now if we wanted to, we could right click on this and go edit method body, and that's going to bring up that IL version as well here with everything. But we want to go to the specific location, this particular if statement. So we'll right click, edit IL instructions, and here we are. So let's see. Here we go. So it's highlighted here. Now, because this is basically the assembly language instead, things work a little different. Now we're looking at calls and essentially what are like pushes to the stack and things of that nature. So, you know, even though here we're looking at if this condition, what actually happens is a value is pushed. 1B, that looks familiar, right? We know what that is. We searched for that. That's the value of the escape key. So that's loaded into a place for this call to happen. And then a call is made to this Unity engine.key code. So that call is going to check which key is being pressed, basically, and then it's going to return. And if, you know, it is the escape key, then it'll do all this other stuff. Right, so all we should need to do is change this right here. Let's change the key code. And what do we want to change it to? Well, let's go to the virtual key codes, and you could look through this list and just try to find like undefined or something. There's a number of undefined ones, so let's do 0x07. 0x07. All right, and so now what we can do is say OK. And now look at this change that happened here. Key code 7. All right, so what I'm going to do is, let's see, we'll go back into Steam here. I'm going to right click, Properties, Local Files, Browse Local Files. Okay, I'm going to go back into this Managed, and on this C# DLL, I'm going to copy it and paste it. So make a backup of it just in case, because we are going to modify. Okay, so now that I have made this change, I want to save that to the module, to the DLL. So what I can do now is go File, Save Module. Okay, and then I'm just going to click OK, and boom, the save is done. So I'm going to go back into the game here, and I'm going to hit Escape, which closes it out, just like what happens. All right. So now I'm going to restart the game, and this is restarting it with our modified DLL now. So I'm going to hit Start, let the game load up, and almost there. All right, I'm going to hit Escape now. It's not closing. And not only that, but if I click on Option, and then I hit Escape, it has the behavior we expect. This is what we expect of an escape key to do. Not close the game forcefully. Okay, so bam, problem solved, cool deal. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is whenever you're looking at the IL language, let's see, edit IL instructions, or the IL section here with the segment, and you're like, what do all these things mean? Okay, you can go to this list of CIL instructions. Okay, and so where we see that we were loading 7, ldc.i4, so if we go Control F, ldc.i4.s, push number onto the stack as integer 32, 32-bit int, short form. All right, so it's just loading that number onto its stack before it makes the call. What is BR false? BR false. Branch to target if value is false. So you can go through and see what all these things mean, and if you're fairly comfortable with the idea of x86, x64 assembly, you're not too far off from understanding what all this stuff does. It's more or less doing the same type of things, just in its own way. Yeah, so there's that. Okay, now the last thing that I wanted to do, actually two more things. All right, so what I want to do now is, let's see, bring this back over here. Oh, I'll close that. And then let's say we actually wanted to find the references. What was it here that it was called? Hang on a second. It was, oh, I'll just double click here. Okay, key down, or get key down, key code, and then it was escape, right? Here we go. All right, so let's copy that, Control C. And, you know, we could just paste it wherever. Let's go, type here to search, Notepad, bring that over here just to keep this here. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to do this second thing. We want to decompile the whole thing. All right. So what that means is anything you want to decompile, you have to select it. So if you wanted to decompile all these files, you would need to select them all. But we're only interested in this one. Okay, this particular assembly C# file. So now what we can do is go File, Export to Project. And it'll ask you where you want to save to. All right, so we'll create on the desktop. All right, and then I will do a new folder and just call it ASDF, select folder. All right, so now I have my folder selected and we hit export. And then once this file is done decompiling, what we can do is double click to open it, that folder that everything exported to. And now we can just search because everything is pretty much in plain text for Windows. So here in the search, we can just Control V, and there we go. We're finding files that have the get key down key code. Oh, we wanted to actually get in escape. All right, look at this. 3 files here. All right, and now we could open them with whatever. Let's open with VS Code. Okay, and then here we go. Key code escape. Now we can see the code. All right, so if we didn't know that 1B was the actual code for this, what we would have to do for the moment is save as a project, decompile, and now we can see the names of where these references are. So this VR setup, or yeah, the VR setup one that we're looking at. Go back into VS Code. All right, so this particular one, we would look at this late update. So we could go to, what is it? Oh, that's the root motion demos. That's not the one we want. We don't want VR setup. We wanted, there was a 4th one there. Maybe escape isn't what we want. Oh, wait, because I have 7 now. Duh. So the VR input one. If we open that in code, all right, this would let us know now that we would have to look at, you know, Control F, Control V. This is actually a really huge file. 2, 3, 4. Boom. All right, so now we would know that we would look at the VR input, and then we would look at the update method in the VR input. So we would drill down here, look for, bring that up, VR input, which is well, it's in another file, so, or in another location. I think it was in Manager, VR input. Yeah, so Manager, VR input. So if we go back here, let's go all the way to the top. Manager is the namespace. Okay, so Manager, and then VR input, and then we would look for that update. And that's how we could find our way to it back in dnSpy. So we're kind of going around our butt to get to our elbow, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much a way that you have to search for certain things right now with dnSpy. Hopefully they'll have something soon that you won't have to do that. Alright, so I'm going to close that, and the last thing that I wanted to go over, this isn't necessary, but for those of you who would like to see like how on earth we might find our way there using Cheat Engine as well. Let's say, you know, the references that we've seen to application.quit, we've seen that a few times. Well, what if we fire up the game and we want to see what actually accesses or references this application.quit? You know, is that the thing that actually quits out whenever we hit escape? That's our question right now. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to rename our new one. Actually, let me close the game out. Rename to hack. That's our hacked version. I'll rename this back to the original name. Alright, so now if we start the game, we're going to be back at square one, which is where we want to be. So start the game up. Start. Okay, so what we're going to do is a little bit crude, and I just kind of want to show you this. So open up Cheat Engine. Yes. Alright, got Cheat Engine here. We're going to go ahead and open the process with it. Okay. Alright, so we're here in this spot, and we're going to go mono, dissect mono. Let's drag this out. Alright, assembly C#. And we know where we need to go. We need to go to well, actually, application quit. This application.quit is where we want to go to right now. So, see when I hover over this, this application is in, the class is Unity Engine.application. So if we look for Unity Engine inside of here, I believe. Nope, actually it is in Unity Engine. That's right. So I'm not in assembly C#. So now we're getting into Unity Engine and Unity Engine.application. So sometimes you'll see Unity Engine.application, but we need to keep going. Let's see, Unity Engine.application. Here we go. Okay, and then the methods. Okay. Quit. Here's quit. So now if we JIT this, we see where it is here. All right. So if we hit escape right now, this is going to close. However, if we toggle a breakpoint right here, okay, let's hit escape. Boom. Breakpoint's hit. All right. Now here's the thing. Since this is used by multiple locations, if we just put a return here or whatever, there's a couple of things. One is, you know, we're going to be getting rid of all functionality that uses this quit. So if we quit the game, the window is going to stay up. It's not going to fully quit out. The other thing is, there's no telling at what point the game made the call to this place. So it could return to a spot that's not expecting to return, and it crashes the game, right? So we want to find our way to the exact place that made this call. You know, the place that we hit the escape key and it made this call. So how do we do that from this point? Well, because we set our breakpoint here at the prologue of this function, okay, we have the return address sitting right here, all right? So this would be where, after this routine runs, or this subroutine runs, everything it does, once it would return, if it would return to this address. So if we go to this address right now, we'll be at a spot that just before that we'll see the call that happened for this. So we're going to go to the exact caller that made this call that we just broke on. All right. So before I do that, I'm going to, on the instruction beneath where we have the breakpoint. Okay, I can double click that. I'm going to copy this. Okay, because now what I want to do is this push RBP is going to run. So now what I want to do is pop RBP. Okay, it's 1 byte long. Do you want to not the other ones? Yes. Okay, so because the game is paused right now, essentially, with the debugger attached, I can modify all this stuff beneath this spot and everything's going to be fine right now. All right, so we come into this function, it pushes RBP, we're going to pop RBP, and then we're going to return dbc3 for return. So we're going to make it like this call didn't happen. The call's coming into here and boom, it's popping back out. However, this is happening globally as well right now if we resume the game. But so what we want to do now is go to this return address. All right, so let's go to address 198.70.128. All right, and if we scroll up, boom, this call right here. All right, this is the one. But we still don't know like where we are. So normally we would perhaps make an AOB right here to try to find our way back, to maybe go ahead and write, get rid of this particular call. We could nop it in an AOB script. But lucky for us, we have symbols because this is a mono-based game. We have meaningful symbols. But obviously we can't see them right now. They got disabled because we have the debugger running. Well, what's cool is that we'll go back, okay, and I think I closed that instance of Notepad, but let's go Notepad. I'm going to paste that, and then I'm going to also paste 198.70.128, okay. And now what I want to do is, let's see, is this back where we were? All right, let's go, where was that at? Okay, so we'll go to our IP here, where the instruction pointer is currently placed. I thought I could go back to it, but let's go to address 198.9F.D20. All right, so here's where our breakpoint is. If we resume right now, which I'm going to do, tools, well, first I'm going to get rid of the breakpoint, toggle breakpoint, debug, run. All right, so if I hit escape, what happens? Nothing. Awesome. So it's not quitting the game out. That's cool. That's what we wanted right now. All right, so now what I want to do is go back to this location here. Control C. Actually, before I do that, let's go to, I'm going to make note of that 198.9F.D20. So this is just like, I would say quit. And then this would be call to quit. Right? So just keeping some notes for yourself while you're going along here. So what I want to do is go back to the call to quit, because now that I have resumed execution, I can reactivate mono features. And boom, look where we are. Manager, VR input, update. This tells us exactly where we need to be. All right, so now we could go back to dnSpy, and if we hadn't found our way there already, now we would know that we could go into Manager, VR input, see, look for update, and then we could poke around in here and be like, all right, what in here has to do with the escape key? So this was initially how I found my way here before all the stuff I covered earlier in the video. So yeah, because I was trying to search for the escape key, I couldn't find anything about it. I hadn't found that GitHub post yet or anything. So this is how I found my way to the location that made that call specifically. So then I was able to make that change, right? And so right here, this is the call that happens. This is the call for that one. But actually, this ends up being a call that happens for a couple of different things. So if I were to nop this call, if I were to make a script that referenced this symbol and nop this call, it's also going to affect how the game closes out. All right, so that's where, you know, you want to get as detailed as possible with the fix that you make. So whereas here in assembly, we'd have to handle like, okay, skip this call if, you know, we identify the caller as being from the thing that closes the game out. We would have more work to do here in Cheat Engine. And imagine if we didn't have symbol names, it would be even more of a bear. But you might actually have to do that, you know, if it's not a mono-based game, obviously. And so now that's why we found our way to this specific location, and we handled this particular place of when the escape key is hit here, then it does all this stuff, right? So yeah, wow. So everything's all good now. And yeah, I was just trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to go over, but I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll just talk to you on the next video. Take care.